Morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. So it's almost April, right? But it's still the start of the year. And at the beginning of every year, people are examining their relationships, their habits. They're trying to develop new things and get rid of old things, break off all forms of toxicity and waste and all that. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Self evaluation is good. Growth is definitely a beautiful thing, and it needs to occur. But what about when God calls you to cut off the functioning thing? Like, yo, my arm is good. Why I gotta cut off my arm? Not that per se, but like when He calls you to step away from something that isn't really seen as a problem. Like, it's functioning, it's comfortable, it's your normal, it's what you've been doing. And therein lies the problem. It's the normal, it's what you've been doing, it's comfortable. And so often, calling and comfort are at war with one another. It's hard to grow and be comfortable at the same time. The reality is, it's probably impossible to grow while you're comfortable. You got to get uncomfortable. So there are times when the Lord calls us to step out and forsake some things. So, the disciples, when they were called, they left their fishing boats and nets behind. Abraham had to get away from his father's country, had to step away from his normal, didn't even know where he was going. He just knew he had to step away. David, when he was anointed king, like before Saul died, there was a period of time where he's on the run, living in caves, but still in pursuit of the will of God for his life. Today we're going to talk about Elisha. So go with me to 1 Kings chapter 19, and we are going to read verses 19 to 21. Now, at this point, Elijah was in a cave and in his feelings and seeking God. And so, like a tornado, it's a strong winds, basically, like a tornado came. God wasn't in that. Earthquake came. God wasn't in that. Fire came. God was not in that. But after the fire came a still small voice, and God was in the still small voice. And through that, Elijah received instruction. He received strategy. Don't miss the message in that. Like, sometimes you waiting for like this big boom, and God is in the simple. God's voice is like, yo, just turn here. Now go there. Now do this. Now connect with that person. It's not this. He doesn't come with bells and whistles because he's God, and he doesn't have to. If you're in tune with his voice, you can just hear that still small voice and be led by that. That's not the message, but that is a message. That is a message though, so don't miss that. But anyways, so part of the revelation or the instruction that he received was to go and get Elisha and anoint him and train him up to be his predecessor. So, teach the next generation. There's a message in that too. I'm probably going to talk about Elijah and Elisha for a while because I just really like them. Anyway, so that's a little background tidbit, right? So 1 Kings chapter 19 verses 19 through 21, and it says, so he, who's Elijah, departed from there, which was the cave, and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he was with the 12th. Then Elisha passed by him and threw his mantle on him. And he left the oxen and ran after Elisha and said, please let me kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you. And he said to him, so this is Elijah responding to Elisha. He said, go back again. After what I've done for you? That's my version right there. So Elisha turned back to him, took a yoke of oxen, and slaughtered them and boiled their flesh using the oxen's equipment, and gave it to the people, and they ate. And then he rose and followed Elijah and became his servant. There's a message in that too. So before he became a prophet, he became a servant. Before Jesus' disciples started really proclaiming the word and living out the fullness of what they were called to, they became servants to Christ, followers of Christ. They became disciples. They submitted to his mission, and in this Elisha submitted to Elisha. It's submitted to his tutelage. Just a little side note, take time to get trained. Don't just try to jump in to whatever it is that you call to. Yes, you have spiritual giftings. Yes, you have these natural abilities, but can you be led? Do you know how to submit? If you don't, you probably lack the humility to be who it is that God has called you to be. That's not the message, but yo, that's a word. That's a whole word right there. But anyways, let's continue on. The point is, Elisha had a good thing going for him. This man had 12 yoke of oxen. One yoke has 2. So you out here with 24 oxen. Said he was on the 12th. So that means there were 11 other plows going. So he had servants, right? He was basically an entrepreneur. He was a farmer. And he had a lot of land. And he had livestock. And clearly he had servants or employees, whatever. So, yeah. Elisha had a good thing going. And then here comes Elijah with the word of the Lord, like, let me throw my mantle on you, because the Lord is calling you to follow after me. The Lord is calling you to take my place. Now, Elisha, he wasn't hesitant. He was actually excited about the call, but he wanted closure with his old life. And basically, Elijah was like, dude, listen, man, opportunities of a lifetime must be seized within the lifetime of the opportunity. That is my favorite quote. It's by Lyndon Ravenhill. I will say it for you one more time. Opportunities of a lifetime must be seized within the lifetime of the opportunity. And y'all, when God is calling you away from your comfort, step away. Because it's so easy to stay in the place where we can provide for ourselves, where we can do for ourselves, where we can be self-sufficient. But where does God get the glory out of that? And he may not be calling you to step out of comfort to the extent that he called Elisha to step out. But I promise you, somehow, somewhere along the way, he is going to call you to release something that's comfortable to you, something that's normal to you, something that's familiar to you. It's gonna happen, because that's a part of being a child of God. That's a part of showing that you really trust him and you are really surrendered to him. Will you walk away? Will you step away when he calls you to? When he says, yo, you got to let the comfort go. You got to let the normal go. I need you to go in this direction, and some things are going to have to fall off for that to happen. Will you go? Do you trust him enough to serve him to that extent? Do you trust him enough to release control? Because in that, Elisha definitely released control. I'm going to forsake everything that I've built, and I'm going to trust in the Lord, and I'm going to walk in his way, and I'm going to be who it is that he called me to be. Do you trust the Lord like that? It's a hard pill to swallow. I know. Definitely not easy, but those are questions that we have to ask ourselves. We have to ask, do I really trust the Lord? Or do I trust what I can provide for myself? Because what is faith if it's not being placed on the impossible? I don't think it's faith at all, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. You've seen how you can provide for yourself. You've seen how you can build for yourself. But what's that greater that God is calling you to do or to exist in that you know nobody but him can orchestrate for you? That thing is your uncomfortable thing. That thing is what requires your faith. That thing is what this season is all about. Welcome to the season of walkout. I hope you trust him. Bye, y'all.